Hare Krishna. We continue reading from Teachings of Queen Kunti. We are on prayer number 25, Unalloyed Devotion. O Lord of Madhu, as the Ganges forever flows to the sea without hindrance, let my attraction be constantly drawn unto you without being diverted to anyone else. This is in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, Text 42. We have been reading the purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. And we will continue with it. We should understand the difference between spiritual and material. That which is material has no living symptoms, and that which is spiritual has all living symptoms. So material, a stone, has no living symptom. The table, our pen, our computer, or whatever things we use, that's not living. So what is the spirit? So because we are inside the body, we think, okay, it's the body that is living. But no, we just heard in Bhagavad Gita that the material elements are all dead. So this body is also made up of material elements. So it's dead. So what is living is us. We, the soul, is that is living. Both the trees in the spiritual world and those in the material world are living entities. But in trees here, the living symptoms are absent. A human being is a living entity, and the devotees in the spiritual world are also living entities. But in the human beings who are not Krishna conscious, the real symptoms of life are absent. So the idea to understand is that we are not the body. We are the soul. We are the soul, and that's why the living symptom is there. Actually, there is no other consciousness but Krishna consciousness, and that consciousness is spiritual. Thus, even while in this material world, if we simply increase our Krishna consciousness, we shall live in the spiritual world. Prabhupada would say that consciousness means Krishna consciousness. You know, he used to say that when we say sunshine, so that because it's the shine of the Lord, of the sun. No? So consciousness means Krishna consciousness. That is spiritual. And if we revive it, we are in the spiritual world. Even though we may be inside this material body, even though we may be in the material body, we do not have to wait to die to become liberated. No, we can get liberated even while being in this body. We simply have to develop our love of God. We have to revive our Krishna consciousness. If we live in the temple, we live in the spiritual world, because in the temple there is no business other than Krishna consciousness. There are so many engagements carried out for Krishna. Those who strictly follow the regulations of Krishna consciousness actually live in the spiritual world, not the material world. We may think we are living in New York, Los Angeles, or elsewhere, but we are actually living in Vaikuntha. Srila Prabhupada would say the ISKCON temples are Vaikuntha. Why? Because everything is being done there for the pleasure of Krishna. Krishna is the center. He's the proprietor. And everyone is working for his pleasure. And that is spiritual world. So we may say, oh, but I don't want to do it. Well, then that's the reason we are here in the material world. Until the time we do not correct our consciousness, till that time we will continue to live in the material world. It is a question of consciousness. A bug may sit on the same seat with the spiritual master. But because the spiritual master has developed consciousness and the bug does not, they are different. They may be sitting in the same place, but the bug remains a bug and the spiritual master remains the spiritual master. The position in space may remain the same, just as we remain in the material world or the spiritual world. But if a Krishna consciousness is strong, we are not in the material world. So Srila Prabhupada is saying we can become Krishna conscious, we can live in the spiritual world, even when we are living in the body, by becoming completely Krishna conscious. Thus, renunciation by itself, the simple giving up of worldly things, is not sufficient. So if I say neti, 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 not this, not this, not this, that is not sufficient. I don't want this, I don't want this, it's not sufficient. It is helpful, but it may be helpful, but it will not help absolutely. When we increase our attachment for Krishna, our renunciation will be perfect. Because we'll say, not this, not this, not this, but then what do I have to do? Don't do this, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. Okay, then what do I do? That is the question. So what do? We have to attach ourselves to Krishna. How? We hear and chant. Hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping the deity. And when we increase our attachment for Krishna, then our renunciation is perfect. As we increase attachment for Krishna, attachment for this material world will automatically diminish. You see, the more we get attached to Krishna, the more we will want to engage in hearing and chanting and Krishna conscious activities. Then to that degree, automatically we are our consciousness is not in the material world. So it is in equal proportion. Attachment for Krishna and the material world cannot go hand in hand. If a woman is attached to two men, her husband and her paramour, she cannot maintain her attachment for both. Her attachment will increase for her paramour. Although she may work at her husband's home very nicely, her mind will be attached to her paramour and she will think, when shall I meet him tonight? In the same way, if we increase our attachment for Krishna, detachment or renunciation of this material world will automatically come. Bhakti prashena pareshanu bhavo viraktir anyatra cha. Bhagavatam Canto 11, Chapter 2, Text 42. So attachment, the more we attach ourselves to Krishna, automatically our attachment to this material world will diminish. We do not have to artificially or separately do anything to diminish our attraction for the material world. We simply have to attach ourselves to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is giving the example that a woman is married and she has a lover. Now, one may say, okay, so she's equally attached to two, but it cannot happen. It's not possible to be equally attached, for her to be equally attached to both. Her attachment to her paramour will keep on increasing. And to that degree, her attachment to her husband will decrease. So the more we attach to Krishna, the more we will be detached from the material world. Thus, Kunti Devi prays to Krishna that he may grant her his mercy, by which she can become attached to him. We cannot increase our attachment for Krishna without Krishna's mercy. So we may think, what's the big deal? I can just get myself attached to Krishna. That's it. Oh, Krishna, now you are going to be bound up in my mind and in my heart. I'm going to capture you. No, we can't do it. We are not able to do it right now. Why? Because our consciousness is polluted. So we need Krishna's mercy to be able to do it. We cannot become devotees without Krishna's mercy. Therefore, we simply have to serve Krishna, for by service, Krishna is satisfied. Krishna does not require anyone's service, for he is perfect in himself. However, if we give him service wholeheartedly and sincerely, then by his mercy, we shall make advancement. So Krishna is God. Everything belongs to God. He does not need anything from us. We may think, oh, Krishna is waiting for me, I have to serve him. But what can we give him actually? Who's gaining here when we are serving Krishna? He does not need anything from us. But what happens is when we serve him, then we attract his mercy. Sincerely, if we serve him, we attract his mercy. And by that, we will make spiritual advancement. Sevan mukhehi jivadav swayam eva spurut adaha. God will reveal himself to us. We cannot see God with our blunt eyes. Then, how can we see him? Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena shanta sadeva hridayeshu vilokayanti. Brahma Samhita 5.38. Brahma Samhita are the prayers by Lord Brahma, where he's saying what is the qualification to see God everywhere. How can we see God? Premanjana churita bhakti vilochanena. That is, we have to smear our eyes with the ointment of love. then Krishna will reveal himself. Krishna will actually come in front of us. So when we develop this love for God, we'll be able to see him everywhere. Krishna will reveal himself to us because of the love. The love will attract him. You know, when the child cries, there's one cry which the child has, and the mother knows, I have to go to the child. That's it. The child is not going to be pacified now. Similarly, that's how, when we are chanting, we need to cry out to Krishna. Hear the holy name. Hear, by hearing, everything will happen. The love will develop. The love of God that we have in our heart will develop. And that's how we will be able to smear our eyes with the ointment of love. Shall we stop here for today? Are there any questions or comments? No, then we'll stop here. Thank you so much for listening in and joining in. Kunti Maharani ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna.